Let's go. It's the Whitey Show. Whitey Show. Whitey Show. Whitey Show. Whitey Show.
I am Harunobu Adachi, descendant of the legendary Yoshinobu Adachi.
Ghost of Tsushima had the setup for everything I love about gaming. You take a samurai who's basically lost his will and his people and turns to the way of the ninja to get shit done while also keeping some of his samurai ways. And then a system focusing on both stealth and sword combat, right up my alley, and graphics to showcase Japan in a stunning way. And then the biggest reason, this is Sucker Punch, who created one of my favorite games of all time, Infamous 2. And I do love Infamous and Second Sons, but Infamous 2, highlight. But this should be a home run, right? Right? Well... So the story starts off in a really brutal way. You, the main character, Jin, has just lost a lot of his people in a horrible battle. I mean, they just get slaughtered here. And after that, you try to go head-to-head against the big bad and pretty much get tossed to the side, and you begin your journey to build up your reputation, your family, get friends and people, allies to help you, turn the tides and fix things up. So the main story is not all that interesting, if I'm going to be honest, but before I get to the negative, I really like the balance with Jin. Now, Jin is a pretty cool character. Him balancing the way of the samurai and the way of the ninja, and using the ninja side to do stealth, basically, samurai to do one-on-one combat or chop a bunch of people up in a flash, is all really cool. And watching the internal struggle of Jin, I think that was great. I actually really like Jin as a main character. It's just the plot around Jin isn't nearly as fun as the character himself. The plot, in my opinion, has really terrible pacing issues. It moves at a snail's pace at times, creating these long drags before anything really happens or changes. And this is mostly due to throwing so many side quests in this game and building up so many relationship quests in this game that the time you get to the main actual plot and main quest, I started not to care. I think the side characters are interesting enough, but if you ask me to name a single one, I really wouldn't be able to. I remember Jin, of course. I remember his internal conflict. I like Jin, but the rest of the cast failed to make an impact on me at all. But flipping back to the nice things, the graphics on this game are a highlight. This is one of the most stunning games I've ever played on a PS4. Multiple times, I was blown away by the style and the look of this game, especially the environments, just breathtaking. This and Last of Us 2 really pushed the PS4 hardware, and I like to give the PS5 version a chance one day, because I can only imagine the graphics are even better. So I really have no complaints about the graphics, and the overall artistic choice for this game is just great.
I can start from the top floor.
But we're going to slide back to the gameplay, and this is where it gets a little iffy for me. So let's talk about the stealth. The stealth combat in this game is fine. You get to crouch down, you perform badass finishers. It's not that it's bad. It just feels extremely basic, like I've done this a million times before. But that's okay if the game feels basic. At least the scenarios could provide something interesting. But they don't. That's my biggest problem with the stealth portion of this game. None of the scenarios really push the stealth in an interesting direction. Most of the time you're going to be on rooftops or grass and you tell one of the characters to come over, kill them, blah, blah, blah. Now, I know this is kind of what stealth is, but the scenarios really could have been more interesting in the stealth department. Saying that, the combat itself, like the actual sword-on-sword combat, now that is pretty damn fun. Performing these badass openers in combat when you're just slicing off heads looks marvelous. The combat itself is pretty solid. It's that kind of bouncy style, Batman or Assassin's Creed style. I felt like the cinematic feel to it made the combat more fun to watch, and there's some really brutal finishers and moves in this game. I thought the challenge of the enemies weren't really high unless you're facing off against another samurai, in which case this gameplay really gets to shine in the timing department, because if you fuck up, these guys will kill you or take half your health in one hit. The side missions and the world itself, the way it feels very stretched out and never ending, made my 30 hours of gameplay start to grow really boring around that time. I couldn't really stand the side quests after a while, but without them, you can't really collect weapons or armor that you need to kind of survive with. It's a lot tougher if you skip these side quests, and while the main story's missions were interesting, the side missions were not, making it a pain to kind of balance the two. So, to sum it up, Ghost isn't a bad game by any means. I'm very indifferent to this game. I can't really tell you why I didn't get fully invested, except the reasons I gave. Of course, a lot of that is opinionated. I liked a lot of it, though. I liked the graphics, I liked the combat, and even Jin. But the lack of characters to the cast just really kind of made me forget the plot, and the stealth never really doing anything new, and the side missions being kind of just a complete bore really took me out of it by about 35-40 hours. I'll probably give this another go down the line. I liked it enough to recommend giving it a try, but as it stands, it's just kind of a solid fun game that didn't go beyond that for me. So I'm gonna have to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I just think it's a good game, just not a great game.